This is LBC. From Global, leading Britain's conversation, The Nigel Farage Show.
Mr. Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Donald, and good evening, everybody. Well, at 7:30 tonight, I'm going to play an interview that took place this morning here in Strasbourg with Lauren Southern, Canadian right-wing journalist and political activist who was barred from entering the United Kingdom on Monday, and they used a notice of detention under Schedule 7 of the Terrorism Act of 2000. So we will find out why this 22-year-old blogger from Canada has not just been stopped using the Terrorism Act, but banned from ever coming in to the United Kingdom again. And it raises some very big questions about free speech and about what is acceptable to say in the modern world. But before we get to that, of course, the ultimatum that was given to the Russians did not meet with a satisfactory answer, and the Prime Minister today was there in the House of Commons and being very, very firm and strong, expelling 23 diplomats from the United Kingdom and a list of other measures. Interestingly, the bigger story tonight seems to be Jeremy Corbyn, who's coming in for some real stick, particularly from his own side, because he questioned the PM about Russia's involvement. So tonight's debate is, has Jeremy Corbyn misjudged the mood here? And to get involved in this, and maybe you think Corbyn was absolutely right and he's holding the government to account, in which case call me on 0345 6060 973, or maybe you think actually Mrs May for once has got this right, and to see Parliament united virtually was a good thing, in which case text to 84850, or maybe you think actually when the whole of Parliament has basically a consensus, there's something to start getting worried about, in which case tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC. And of course, you can watch us on Facebook. I'm live from the European Parliament here in Strasbourg. So let's go to somebody who watched these exchanges from the gallery, LBC's political editor, Theo Usherwood. Good evening, Theo.
Very good evening, Nigel.
So tell us what happened.
Well, Theresa May stood up. She said that she was going to expel 23 Russian diplomats, undeclared spies, and they were going to be sent back within the week to Russia. And to give you some comparison, when Alexander Litvinenko was poisoned back in 2006, that's the former KGB agent, only 4 Russian spies were sent back then. We also know from the Prime Minister today that ministers and members of the royal family will not be attending the World Cup in Russia this summer. But she did stop short, Nigel, of placing a ban on the broadcaster Russia Today. There are some who thought she could have gone perhaps a bit further, but actually it was all overtaken, wasn't it, by Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour leader. There's a bit of history to this, because on Monday, when Theresa May stood up and said that in effect it was highly likely that Russia carried out the attack, Mr Corbyn made the political point, some might say it was a cheap political point, that actually the Tories needed to look closer to home, and the fact that they received large donations from Russian oligarchs. Needless to say, when he stood
Which is
up
true, of course, isn't it?
Yes, it is true.
Yes.
But then, rather inconvenient, yes. Yeah. And then, of course, so when he stood up today and then launched into, started questioning the intelligence and whether actually Theresa May, before expelling these diplomats, should have acceded to the Kremlin's demands to actually send a sample of this nerve agent back to Moscow so that it could be tested by the Russian intelligence services. There were howls of shame and disgrace from the Tory benches, and actually some from the Labour benches too.
If the government believes that it is still a possibility that Russia negligently lost control of a military-grade nerve agent, what action is being taken through the OPCW with our allies? I welcome the fact the police are working with the OPCW. And has the Prime Minister taken the necessary steps under the Chemical Weapons Convention to make a formal request for evidence from the Russian government under Article 9.2? How has she responded to the Russian government's request for a sample of the agent used in the Salisbury attack to run its own tests? Has high-resolution trace analysis been run on a sample of the nerve agent, and has that revealed any evidence as to the location of its production or the identity of its perpetrators?
Jeremy
So,
Corbyn,
Theo, was that taken? I mean, so he's basically saying the Russians have asked for samples of this. They want to test it. And the government have said no. So is it? I mean, did Parliament feel that somehow he was almost taking Russia's side?
You're spot on, Nigel. Absolutely. There was a sort of feeling, I think, both on the Labour benches and the Tory benches, that Britain is now under attack from Russia, and that everybody needs to unite behind the Prime Minister and our intelligence services and get behind Team UK, because this is our hour of need. And here we have Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour leader, actually raising a few questions. And all of this was, ramped up by Seamus Milne, Jeremy Corbyn's chief strategist, in a briefing with journalists afterwards, when he said, of course, the link between pointed back to the Iraq War and weapons of mass destruction and in the intelligence there, and he described it as problematic, to put it mildly, and that got people in, Tories and Labour MPs, backbenchers, in even more of a tiswas about it, because it seemed to undermine, as I said, Britain in its hour of need. Jeremy Corbyn didn't stop there, actually. Incidentally, he had he made another party political point when he said that Britain would be able to put forward a much more robust response to the Kremlin if we hadn't cut back our foreign service by such significant amounts.
It is, as we on these benches have expressed before, a matter of huge regret that our country's diplomatic capacity has been stripped back with cuts of 25% in the last 5 years. It is, Mr. Speaker,
the right honourable gentleman must be heard. There will be adequate opportunity for colleagues on both sides of the House to put questions. Members must be heard. Jeremy Corbyn.
I couldn't understand a word of what the Foreign Secretary just said, Mr. Speaker, but his behaviour demeans his office. It is in moments such as these that governments realise how vital strong diplomacy and political pressure are.
So the idea, Theo, that, you can't blame cuts for everything, surely.
No, I should also say, Nigel, that Jeremy Corbyn there referenced the OPCW, that's the Organisation for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, which is seen as the arbiter, if you like, of ensuring that the chemical weapons aren't used, and testing them and making sure that bans are in place. So let's just give our listeners, your listeners even, a little bit of context as to who he was referring to there, and basically saying to the Prime Minister that she needed to go by the form book, do what was right in order to build that consensus, rather than, the insinuation was from Jeremy Corbyn that by cutting corners, by rushing to judgment, she wasn't being fair to Russia, and she could undermine her own cause.
Do you think, Theo, looking at some of these Labour voices, does Jeremy Corbyn now find himself completely isolated within the Parliamentary Labour Party?
I think he, to an extent, I think that's correct. I have a slight, and this is just, having covered politics for a long time and thinking back to the Iraq War, I think there is sometimes a danger that Parliament can find itself separated from a body of public opinion. I listened to your show, afterwards, and I'll be really interested to see what the callers are saying on this, because sometimes I think MPs form a consensus that it's a sort of groupthink, and Jeremy Corbyn
I couldn't agree more.
Jeremy Corbyn has a knack of sometimes really tuning in to what the public are feeling on things. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, Theo, thank you for that, and we're going to find out right now. I have to say, I felt the Prime Minister had no choice but to be fairly tough on this issue. I'm now beginning to doubt myself, because do you know what? every time I've seen a consensus in Parliament, whether it's over the Libyan war or membership of the European Union, ultimately I found that consensus to be wrong. Theo referred to groupthink. So Jeremy Corbyn has misjudged the mood of Parliament today, but has he misjudged the mood of the country? And it's that I want to find out. I'm going to ask Graham in Wokingham that very question.
Good evening, Nigel. Pleasure to speak to you.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'd like to kick off by... I watched Prime Minister's Question Times live earlier, and if in the background you might hear me screaming from Wokingham.
Right.
I was livid with Corbyn. I get he's the opposition. He's got to hold them to account, and because of the history of the certain wars, obviously we've got to be careful. But this is not the same. My first real issue was the fact that he used the death of one of the greatest minds in human history to bring a political point about the NHS. I thought was a disgrace. I really do.
Yeah.
That really was out of order. If anyone watched that, get online and watch it. Bang out of order, I thought. Secondly, that point that Theo just made regarding the cuts in the diplomatic service,
that was ridiculous, Graham, wasn't it?
Crazy. Look, I totally get the point you're saying about the group think, but we're not even there yet. This is a Cold War issue. This is Russia. They have a massive track record going back 20 years maybe with, all of the different sort of rogue elements that are happening within, the huge... Because everyone's talking about the Kremlin. It's much more delegated out. You've got sort of people operating with quite a lot of authority in Russia that actually are quite removed from the Kremlin. And so, therefore, it might not be directly related to the Kremlin. We don't know, obviously.
No, I mean, that's a fair... That, Graham, is a point. That is a point that we've talked about the last few days, that,
Yes.
I do think a Russian actor of some kind was involved in this, but whether he was authorised or not does remain to be seen. Graham, let me just ask you what I think is going to become the key question for Corbyn. It isn't so much what he said today, it's in a broader context. Do you think Prime Minister Corbyn would pose a threat to our national security?
Absolutely. And can I just make this one point, Nigel, which I think is we must all of us bear this in mind. It doesn't matter where you come from politically. If anyone hasn't seen it, look at Putin's speech with his new nuclear this and missiles doing this and fake blowing up America. It's scary stuff. We need Trident. If there wasn't a stronger case for Trident... No,
I think... No, the country's with that. Corbyn's not, but his party is. Thank you, Graham. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. It's now 7:16.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
The Conservative government would float a review to see whether we want to get rid of our pennies and our two-penny bits. Philip Mussell is director of Coin News. When people find extraordinary, rare and valuable coins in their back garden, is there another coin, there's something else they should be looking out for?
The Aquatics 50p from the London 2012 Olympics. If the swimmer looks as if she's underwater, that could be worth almost £1,000.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Every weekday morning from 7, only on LBC.
He's on the home stretch. Wait, he's stopped. Extraordinary. He's having a picnic on the side of the track.
Is the performance of your cash ISA a bit of a disappointment? At Money Farm, our experts can match you with an investment ISA that could give your money the chance to perform better. And right now, we'll look after your full ISA allowance free of management fees for a year if you transfer over £10,000. You have one life. Invest wisely. Visit moneyfarm.com/move. Your capital is at risk. Money Farm is authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.
Hello, I'm a new idea. Your competitors don't know about me yet, but you will if your phone system is a Vonage phone system. That's because Vonage call plans start from just £12 a month. So instead of watching the minutes, you'll be looking out for new ideas like me that'll grow your business. Answer every opportunity with Vonage. Just visit vonage.co.uk or call 0203 435 8000. Excludes VAT at 20%. Terms and contract apply.
Successful investing can seem like a bit of a mystery, but many ordinary people have now learned how to use the stock markets to earn a second income without a second job. Online Trading Academy has taught thousands of people how to use its approach over 2 decades. The face-to-face workshops are delivered by down-to-earth presenters using know-how from financial institutions and outlines the plan to make profits, whether the markets go up or down. Whether you want to retire in style, put kids through university, or just increase your income, today Online Trading Academy London is offering a free investing kit so you can start learning how to improve your finances. No prior knowledge is necessary. Just go to otalondon.com or call 0800 088 5462 and get 2 free videos and a helpful guide. Plus, you can sign up for a free half-day workshop near you right now to help you learn how to change your financial life. Call 0800 088 5462. That's 0800 088 5462.
What's down the back of your sofa? Half a pretzel? That long-lost TV remote? But what if you found a wad of cash? Now we're talking. Or what about a goose that lays golden eggs? It's nice to get more than you expected. New Euro Millions Hot Picks from the National Lottery. Pick and match 3 balls and win £1,500. Play every Tuesday and Friday. Prizes are fixed, subject to capping. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
Shut the door on routine. Start something new. Power your adventure and unmap your life with the Jeep Renegade from £189 a month. With 5-star Euro NCAP safety rating, touchscreen, Bluetooth, sat-nav and legendary Jeep capability. Visit jeep.co.uk to begin your journey today. Personal contract hire. Jeep Renegade 1.4 longitude manual. Initial rental of £1,134. 48-month term, 8,000 miles per annum until March 31st, 2018. Subject to status. Leases.
This is LBC, live from Strasbourg, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag FarageOnLBC.
Has Corbyn misjudged the mood? Well, certainly he's misjudged the mood of Parliament. They did not like at all him asking questions, and in particular saying that surely shouldn't the Russians be allowed to test some of this substance. That was taken as weak cries of shame, and his own side condemning him, and him perhaps in danger of looking weak on national security. Before I get back to that, but staying with Parliament, the Commons Speaker, John Bercow, and bear in mind, this is a position that has existed for 800 years. The person who is the Speaker of the House of Commons normally is one of the most respected people in the world because of the way they conduct the chamber, but because they leave behind whatever political opinions they may have had when they're elected as an MP. Their job is to be neutral. And of course, what we saw with Bercow was him effectively trying to use his position to ban Donald Trump from entering the Palace of Westminster, which caused outrage with people who thought, actually, his opinions are irrelevant. It's the job that matters. Well, I tell you what, he's done it again. Because the Times newspaper today ran an article, and they'd seen something on the Guido Fawkes website, showing the Speaker's car in a Commons car park. And just in front of the mirror, but visible to the outside, is a sticker. And if you've got young ones, cover their ears for a moment, because the sticker says, bollocks to Brexit. I simply can't believe that the Speaker of the House of Commons is driving around in a big 4x4 with that on the front of his windscreen. And once again, Bercow demeans that great office of state, and he does it. He does it because he's very happy to wear his heart on his sleeve. Well, I tell you what, John Bercow, if you want to give us your opinions on everything, having made this amazing transformation from being a hard right-wing Monday Club member to being where you are now, you can do so. But not a Speaker of the House of Commons. You're not doing this country any good at all. Sorry about the word, folks, but it was the truth. I get Newell says to me on Facebook, as a left-winger, I think the left has got to be really careful on this issue. This is a perfect opportunity for the right to paint us all as conspiratorial nut jobs. Daniel says, Mrs May has got this 100% right. Corbyn misjudges absolutely everything. He is beyond clueless. Well, let's hear what Jeremy Corbyn had to say about the death of Professor Stephen Hawking.
And he said, I have received excellent medical attention in Britain. I believe in universal health care, and I'm not afraid to say so.
So we had the caller on before the break saying, you know, he even tried to politicise Stephen Hawking's death. He's misjudged everything. Parliament was pretty much unanimous in supporting the Prime Minister today. She's kicking out 23 diplomats. The royal family won't be attending the World Cup. And we say, you know, we're effectively breaking off relations. This is the worst state of relations that we've had with Russia since the Cold War. But has Corbyn misjudged the mood of the country? And it's really interesting that over the last few evenings, a lot of you have rung in saying, do you know what, Nigel, I don't believe anything the government or government ministers say. And there is, generally, I do believe that in this country we've gone through a sort of collective collapse of confidence in our political leaders. Well, given the way the Speaker of the House of Commons is behaving, is it any wonder? Let's go to Sidcup in South London and ask Richard what he thinks. Good evening, Richard.
Good evening, Nigel. We saw the true colours of Jeremy Corbyn today. We haven't seen him for a while. I think they've tried to patch him up, stick a suit and tie on him, get into...
I know. He looks all smart, Richard. He's got designer suits. He's got his top button done up. It's a very different-looking Corbyn, isn't it?
Definitely, but the backbenchers couldn't bail him out today, Nigel. They tried to put a bit of balance to the argument. They tried to show a bit of loyalty to the electorate, but we can all see now, we can see the leadership for what it is, and we can see he's got a soft spot for every enemy of this country, for every terrorist group, for every nut job. You've always got Jeremy to say something nice about him. And the other thing that you know, the point that you made earlier on about Bercow, when they all cheered his speech, when he said that we shouldn't welcome Donald Trump to this country, the animosity showed towards him by Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, said he doesn't want him here. Yet when we get a bit of trouble from the Russians, when we get serious trouble on our own turf from Russian agents, they all start saying, where's America? Where's Donald Trump? So now they're in an awfully embarrassing position. They didn't want him here. Macron had him over in France. He beat us.
Oh, he's been all over Europe. He's been feted all over the world, and we haven't. But the real point here, Richard, is Sadiq Khan is the elected mayor of London. He's entitled, I guess, to his point of view. But John Bercow has taken this great office of state, a position that is admired and respected all over the world. You know, for 800 years, we've had a neutral speaker. He even managed to stay neutral during the English Civil War. And now we've got little Bercow giving us his opinions on everything. And I think it's an absolute disgrace. Richard, I've got to leave you and move on to Terry in Blackpool. Good evening, Terry.
Hiya, Nigel. How are you doing?
So, has Corbyn misjudged the mood of the country?
No, he hasn't. He's actually summed up from everybody I'm talking to exactly how they feel. They don't believe in Parliament. They don't believe in MPs. You know what I mean? They've got another agenda. It's quite clear. And they're pushing this Russia thing, pushing Russia. I mean, the last caller, I mean, what was he on about? I mean, they're pushing Russia all the time, and I'm really worried. I'm really genuinely worried. I'm 52, and this is the closest I think we are to a world war, and we're pushing Russia all the time, and it really, really worries me. And Jeremy Corbyn stood up, and he said what was right. Where is the evidence? Where is it? I haven't heard any.
No, well, the Prime Minister, effectively, Terry, is asking us to trust her. She's saying... You know, she is saying, look, it can't be anybody else. We gave them the chance to answer us with an ultimatum. They haven't done so. They've responded by saying it's a load of rubbish. Give us some of this stuff to test and we'll give you our opinion. Terry, do you, I mean, are you saying that you genuinely don't believe that the Russians are behind this?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I don't know. That's the point. There's no evidence, and this is it. And the Parliament, and why Theresa May is asking us to trust her and Parliament. You know what? Guess what? I don't, and neither do the majority of people in this country. And Jeremy Corbyn, because I'm not partisan at all. I've been critical of him, but he was very brave today, really brave, and I salute him today. Absolutely.
Are you normally, Terry, a Labour voter?
I am, and I tell you, I did vote for Corbyn, right, but I've been really disillusioned with him. I've rang up on this show to express that. I'm very disillusioned with him over Brexit and other things and what have you, but today is absolutely bob on.
Terry, I thank you for your call. I really do, and I think, I have to say, I think that Terry represents a growing number of people in this country. They just don't believe what prime ministers, cabinet ministers say before the House of Commons, on the media, whether it's not just the Iraq war and the fact we could be blown to bits in 45 minutes that proved not to be true, but there seems to be a sort of... I also wonder whether amongst Brexiteers, they kind of feel that what they voted for is being delayed, watered down, concessions made. All in all, I think we've got a real problem here in terms of trust in politics. Prakash is calling from Camberwell. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Nigel. Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think Jeremy Corbyn has been clear, logical and rational on this issue, and he's trying to take the heat out of it, which I think is helpful. I mean, he's made a lot of big calls in the past, and I think he has got it right. I mean, what's interesting is that the Russians have asked for sort of details of some of the samples from the British government, but the British government has chosen to communicate with the Russians through the mainstream media, i.e. the Sun, the Mail, etc. Yeah. And I think for some direct communication to say, look, this issue has taken place, what's your take on it? We'll give you some samples. Can you help us with the investigations? Would be far more constructive.
Are you suggesting, Prakash, are you actually suggesting that this government cynically has used this crisis to show how tough they are on national security through conservative... I mean, you wouldn't say something like that, would you?
Not national security, but I think you're on the right track. They've made such a mess of Brexit over the last 18 months. They're in for a difficult period now, and she is trying to divert the public's attention away from the issues that affect the British people and onto spurious issues that don't really affect the British people. You know, last year, Kim Jong-un's brother, I think it was last year or the year before, was killed by a nerve agent, which originated in the UK. But that doesn't mean that the UK government was responsible for the murder of Kim Jong-un's brother. You know, we have NATO bases all around Russia, and as you know, after the collapse of the Warsaw Pact, NATO moved eastwards into all those countries. Could you imagine if Russia had bases all around the UK?
No, Prakash, I have to say, I have for over 10 years criticised the EU and NATO's attitude towards the Ukraine. I really have. I think we've provoked Russia in many ways. However, that does not justify what happened in Salisbury the other week. But, as many people point out, I believe it was a Russian actor. What we don't know is whether it was sanctioned by Putin or whether it was a rogue agent. That we do not know. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. It's now 7:30 and time for the headlines with Thomas Watts.
The UN Security Council is meeting in New York where they'll discuss the Salisbury poisoning. Russia's foreign ministry has warned Moscow will retaliate against a series of new sanctions announced by the Prime Minister. Serial sex attacker John Warboys will remain in prison while the High Court considers the decision to allow his release. Victims of the black cab rapist will wait to see if they have successfully challenged the parole board. All 100 remaining Toys R Us stores in the UK will be shut during the next 6 weeks with the loss of 3,000 jobs. Administrators have been unable to find a buyer for the business. LBC weather, a mild night with some rain pushing northeastwards, gales in the north and west, a low of 6 degrees.
LBC travel, the Rotherhithe Tunnel has been closed in both directions because of a breakdown. It's adding to the queues already through Shadwell because of the roadworks on the highway. In Battersea, the Queenstown Road has reopened near the Silverthorne Road junction after an accident. There are still some delays in the area. Lots of problems on the tubes. There are severe delays on the Central Line from White City to Ealing Broadway and West Ruislip. And there are severe delays on the Victoria Line after a train broke down. On the trains, the Heathrow Express and Heathrow Connect won't be running from 8 o'clock because of engineering works. LBC Travel, I'm Katie Tyler.
This is LBC.
All this week on LBC, listen to Sheila Fogarty from 1 p.m. as she carries out a special report on child protection. If you do have concerns that a child or young person is being abused or neglected, or you think that their safety is at risk, know what to look out for and how you can report it to your local council, NSPCC or the police. To find out more, listen all this week to Sheila Fogarty with the Department for Education and LBC.
Love your skin, love your hair, love your nails. Perfectil delivers nutritional support from within, including zinc, to help you maintain normal skin, hair and nails. Perfectil, the science of beauty, from Vitabiotics, the UK's #1 vitamin company. From Boots, pharmacies and Vitabiotics.com.
My job often involves filling jobs, so finding a reliable way to recruit staff is vital. That's why I always trust Recruitment Genius. They write a great job ad for me, advertise it on up to 2,000 job sites, and they even screen and filter the applicants. Then I just select the best ones for interview. All this for a flat fee of £199 plus VAT at 20%. Using Recruitment Genius makes me a recruitment genius. Create a free account today at recruitmentgenius.com.
Malware, phishing, identity theft. Every day, cybercrime is getting cleverer, with criminals deploying new techniques that could damage your business. For example, this ad has been voiced by me, a professional actress, and me, a synthesized AI copy. Could you tell who was which? At Hiscox, it's this type of threat we make it our business to know. That's why our specialist business insurance helps you stay one step ahead of cybercrime. To find out more and to see what lines were real, go to hiscox.co.uk/one step ahead. Hiscox. Ever onwards.
Universal Credit is opening up work for thousands of people across the country, providing support for people out of work or who start on a low income. It can top up your wages when you start a new job, making sure it's worth your while. And if your wages change, your Universal Credit changes automatically, giving you one less thing to worry about. So now it pays to take whatever job opportunities you find. Universal Credit. Opening up work. Find out more at gov.uk/openingupwork.
Hello, professionalism here. Just to be clear, I don't really do mobile numbers. It doesn't give the right impression. I prefer a Vonage phone system instead. With Vonage, you can have one proper landline number across all your business phones, even when you use mobiles, which means you get to look the part as well as be the part.
Answer every opportunity with Vonage. Just visit vonage.co.uk or call 0203 435 8000. Terms and conditions apply.
This is LBC, live from Strasbourg, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
There's a strong consensus in Parliament that says Theresa May is right to say it's the Russians what done it and we need to take action. But Jeremy Corbyn questioning that today. He certainly lost the mood of the House, and I'm asking you, has he lost the mood of the country? Or is Parliament, with this consensus, out of touch? But before that, I want to talk about the pretty extraordinary case of Lauren Southern, a Canadian right-wing journalist, blogger, author. She's an activist, and she was coming into the United Kingdom, but she was barred from entering on Sunday night as she was coming in to Calais. Now, this was all to do with a poster and some leaflets about Islam she distributed in Luton in February. It makes her the latest international right-wing figure to be denied entry to the UK after criticising the religion. The Home Office confirmed that Southern was refused entry at the border in Calais on the grounds that her entry was not conducive to the public good. Well, earlier on today, I caught up with Laura Southern here in the European Parliament in Strasbourg, and I asked her what happened.
I came in on Sunday night and my passport seemed to be flagged, and they took me into the back, put me in detention, and I thought it was just going to be a regular detention, but soon enough the Kent police showed up with a form that said Schedule 7 Terrorism Act on it. They told me, you are now being detained by the police under the Terrorism Act. You do not have a right to remain silent. We are going to be questioning you about your goings-ons, your ideology.
Is that a temporary ban? Is that a permanent ban?
I asked them when I was in there, and it appears to be a permanent ban. What's bizarre is even if I did not admit to giving out racist material, because that would almost be a lie to the police. There is nothing racist about what was on those leaflets. I spoke about the LGBT community and about Islam. Neither of those things have anything to do with race. So not only did I not admit to this, but what I assume is I said, yes, I was handing out leaflets in Luton, and they simply decided they were racist.
Here we are. You have had Schedule 7 of the Prevention of Terrorism Act applied to you. You are banned from coming to the United Kingdom for life. Do you have any appeal against this?
I'm going to try to challenge this, absolutely. I have a recording, actually, when the Kent police called my father, and the Kent police are absolutely lovely people, I will say. I think this came from above and not because they actually thought I was a terrorist. They called my father and told him, your daughter is being held under the Terrorism Act, which I'm putting so many gray hairs on my parents' head, unfortunately. And they also said, we do not believe your daughter is a terrorist. We have no reason to believe she is a terrorist. So it seems that they abused Schedule 7. It seems that it was not used properly. And after speaking with legal counsel, many of the steps that should have been taken in my detainment were not. And it seems I will have an opportunity to appeal this.
Well, in response to all of this, the Home Office have said the Border Force has the power to refuse entry to an individual if it is considered that his or her presence in the UK is not conducive to the public good. But no specifics were offered at all as to why her entry was refused. Well, I've done a full 15-minute interview with Laura Southern, and you can listen to all of it by subscribing to my brand new LBC podcast, Farage Against the Machine, the second episode of which will be out this Friday. Go to lbc.co.uk to get the details. I have to say that the fact that Schedule 7 of the Terrorism Act 2000 has been used to stop a blogger who may have views that some find a bit... I mean, basically what she says in this big interview is that she thinks there are elements of Islam that are not compatible with Western society. She talks about rights of women, homosexuality. Now, that may be a point of view that a lot of people find very uncomfortable. It may be a point of view they agree with. But surely the point is we should be allowed to have this debate in modern Britain. And I do find it amazing that we use the Terrorism Act on someone like this in a country where the government let back in 400 people who'd fought for ISIS in Syria. I do wonder about all of this. And I think this particular debate about Laura Southern, I think you're going to hear a lot more of that over the course of the next few weeks. Back to Corbyn. Did he blunder? Well, Christine in Wallington has a very strong view on this. She said Corbyn is nothing less than a commie traitor. In 1939, he would have been hanging around the tails of Neville Chamberlain. Glad he wasn't around then. Others, of course, take a very different view. Corbyn has my admiration after today. If Russia had been responsible, the job would have been done correctly and the spy would have been dead. Corbyn's response to May in Parliament today was anything but supportive to the government or the people of this nation. He did everything to avoid the Russian issue. He's shown his true colours, says David. And I'm wondering whether Corbyn's problem here isn't so much what he said today, it's his previous close associations with Gerry Adams, Martin McGuinness. It's the nice things he said about Hamas and Hezbollah. There are some who would say that he cozies up to enemies of this country. And I see the problem today, and I think the fear of Labour MPs is not him questioning the government so much on this issue. I think they worry that Labour's going to be portrayed as being weak on national security. That's my take on this. Andrew is calling from Sheffield. Good evening, Andrew.
Hello, Nigel.
So, did Corbyn get it right or wrong, Andrew?
He got it right. It really hurts me to have to say this because I loathe and detest everything Corbyn and his politics stand for. Right. But today, he actually got it right. But then again, even a stop clock's right twice.
And what was it, Andrew? I mean, here we had Andrew, here we had a House of Commons virtually in consensus, almost not quite unanimity, but there was a big consensus from left and right saying the government's got it right. What in particular did you admire about him today?
It was the questions that he asked May regarding what attempts had she made to provide samples or get the proof or all the sort of testing. They were quite forensic, his questioning, and I noticed that May declined to answer any of them. Instead, she just used a few low-level insults against him. But I do think that he was right in questioning her because May has offered no evidence whatsoever apart from allegations. But
she's asking us, Andrew, she's saying, trust me, I'm the Prime Minister, I know what's going on, that's why I've made this decision. And one of the points that was made earlier is that the way they deal with all of this is through newspapers that are very friendly to them. So, I mean, is it May that's politicising all of this?
I think she's trying to show people she's actually got a backbone when she hasn't. I think she's overcompensating for a lack of spine, especially with the Brexit negotiations.
So, Andrew, let me just get this right. You loathe and detest most things Corbyn stands for. You've got very little time for Theresa May. I mean, are you one of those people, Andrew, whose faith and confidence in our political class has fallen over the course of the last few years?
Oh, definitely. I don't trust any of them in Parliament now. We could do with a complete clear out and have some fresh faces, who know what they're doing.
Well, Andrew, I tell you what, this is a growing thought out there. I thank you very much indeed for your call. Steve, a first-time caller to our show, lives in the beautiful Forest of Dean. Good evening, Steve.
Good evening, Nigel.
So, what do you think, Steve? Do you trust what the Prime Minister's telling you?
Absolutely none of it. I find myself in a bit of a state of shock, really, to be honest with you. I never, ever thought I'd ever agree with anything that loathsome little man would ever say. And yet, here I am today, finding myself thinking, at least someone has got an ounce of common sense going on here.
Is that because he's asking questions? And Steve, he's asking questions and he wants to know due process has been observed. Is that what he's got right?
I think just the fact that he's asking the question. I mean, at the end of the day, there is no solid proof. I agree totally. Obviously, it's very, very likely it is of Russian origin or malarkey. But there isn't any proof. Everything else that strange woman wants has got to be proven. It's got to be have inquiries into it. It's got to have this. It's got to have everything. And yet this time, the Russians, bang. Well, let's just go and start World War III with them, shall we? We all know
Steve, I did at the weekend have callers suggesting NATO should intervene, and actually today NATO did a call on Russia to give Britain complete disclosure of the Soviet-era nerve agent used in the attack on a Russian double agent on March the 4th. So NATO's voice is there. I'm not suggesting it's World War III, but there is a bit of, there has been a lot of political hysteria about Russia, hasn't there?
Well, it's the hysteria that's doing my head in. The entirety of the evening news, it's all about the Russians. The man at the end of the day was dabbling in the spy business. Well, he was in the spy business. Double agent.
Yeah, he was.
Surely, in that sort of work, you have to expect this sort of problem, don't you?
Well, Steve,
you don't just retire and walk away and it'll be fine. I'll go and open up a sweet shop down the corner. You just
I think if you look, my view, if you've worked for Mr. Putin and you double-crossed him and you're seen to be a traitor because you've given state secrets to the other side, don't think you're going to go and live the rest of your life in total safety and obscurity. And we've seen too much of this sort of thing, Steve, over the years for me to believe that it's not a Russian actor. But I do share the concerns about the lack of evidence. I don't think she had much option, but she perhaps could have been a bit more honest with the House of Commons because she gave the impression that she had the evidence. I don't think she did. Steve, I thank you very much indeed for your first-time call to this show. And Steve, lots of you have lost faith in our leaders. It's alarming in one way, but fascinating in another. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. It's now 7:46.
Coming up at 8 on LBC, Beverly Turner.
5 English councils are adopting integration plans to encourage a harmonious melting pot of cultural diversity. But isn't it impossible to engineer friendships if people don't want to mix?
Beverly Turner on LBC.
We've been thinking about the nuclear family, that vision of mum, dad and their 2.4 children, and how times have changed, how we're now living longer and our kids are leaving home later. So we thought, with all this change, shouldn't we change the way we think about mortgages? So we now cater for all types of family and are trying to turn Generation Rent into Generation Buy. Mortgages for how life is now. NatWest. We are what we do.
Your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on your mortgage.
At Motorpoint, we know life is full of different journeys. Short ones, long ones, and everything in between ones. So wherever life takes you, we'll help you get there. You can drive away a 2017 Vauxhall Astra Turbo SRI with under 15,000 miles, DAB radio and Bluetooth for just $10,999, saving over £9,000 on the new list price. And there's no need to haggle. There's a Motorpoint car for every journey. Visit Motorpoint Chingford or motorpoint.co.uk today.
It's in my hair, my eyebrows, it's even up my nose. They make painting look easy on the telly, but let me tell you, it's not. The wall looks like it's been finger painted by a giant child. Who's going to rescue this? Oh, relax. It's Trust a Trader. Actual professionals who know what they're doing and don't leave the place looking like, well, my face. Now I can concentrate on the important stuff. Whispering peach or dirty mayonnaise. Visit trustatrader.com.
Trustatrader.com. What are the best things about working for yourself? Being the boss? Setting your own hours? Every day is bring your dog to work day? Bet you didn't say invoicing. Send customized invoices in a moment with QuickBooks. Know when they've been seen, paid, or are overdue, so you can stay on top of your cash flow and get back to more enjoyable things. QuickBooks, backing you. Available now for up to 50% off your first 6 months. For terms and conditions, visit quickbooks.co.uk.
To find the truth, you wouldn't listen to just one voice. You wouldn't believe just one story, or trust just one opinion. And neither would we. The Week magazine reviews all the issues of our day and where everyone stands on them. Sign up online and try 6 issues for free. Search The Week magazine today. After all, you shouldn't make up your mind on just one issue. Cancel anytime during the free period or continue with 13 issues for just £31.25.
No need to be frozen this winter.
Well, it's not Ice Age.
Indeed, some like it hot. And until April the 1st, Swale Heating are giving away 2 free cinema tickets with every A-rated Worcester Bosch boiler. Plus, you'll get a warranty of up to 10 years and a year's free cover for the whole central heating system, subject to survey. And they can fit within 24 hours if necessary.
Mamma mia, that's good.
Just text the word frozen to 84433 today.
People will be in hot pursuit.
Enough already. Taxi!
Driver.
This is LBC, live from Strasbourg, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
The Foreign Office have advised Britons travelling to Russia not to talk about politics amid growing tensions between the two countries. And I wonder whether 1 or 2 people who might have been visiting there may have decided to postpone their trips. Now, Linda from London says, the Chilcot report told us not to trust the Prime Minister, but to question, scrutinise, and evidence-based Corbyn was right. Quick thought. What really would be the point of the Russians analysing a sample? Who on earth would believe their findings? Which would no doubt exonerate themselves, says Ben. Well, Ben, I guess that they might say, aha, we have tracked this agent, this nerve agent, and we know who stole it and used it and didn't have our authority, I suppose, is what the Russians might say. Dr. Ralph says, another emotionally charged and hasty decision by the PM. And Corbyn is bashed for urging caution. Time will tell who is right. Dr. Ralph, I hope time will tell who is right. I hope we do get to the bottom of all of this. What does Ruth from North Allerton in Yorkshire think? Good evening, Ruth.
Good evening.
So Parliament didn't like him today, Ruth, but what about the country?
Well, I can't stand him, but I thought he was exactly right, because Theresa May said, oh, trust me, Brexit means Brexit, and now we're going to be in until my granddaughter's an old age pensioner, and we're going to be paying in till 2064.
Yes.
Quite frankly, I think it's a red herring drawn across the path to take people's minds off what's really going on. Why have we got all these people here? We have got the riffraff from the 4 corners of the globe living here.
Do you feel that, Ruth?
Pardon?
I mean, surely, but we also get some very good people come here too, don't we?
But we've still got all the riffraff, and we've got our own riffraff. We don't need to import it, but we do. We've got these Russians here with their funny money that they've never got legally. You've got, I think, is it Deripaska that owns the Evening Standard that George Osborne's working for?
No, I don't think. No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
Deripaska on a yacht with Osborne.
Well, Deripaska is one of the biggest producers of aluminium in the world, and he did spend some time on a yacht with George Osborne and Peter Mandelson. But let's leave that there. But Ruth, you know, do you really, do you in your heart think that a British Prime Minister would stand up before the country and the world, expel 23 foreign diplomats, and do it without really having the evidence?
What is all this about? We've got people, policemen wandering around Salisbury in spacesuits, and they're telling people that that were in the restaurant and the pub to wipe their spectacles with a baby wipe. So if a baby wipe's good enough, why are they in spacesuits?
Well, I can't answer that. I can't answer that, Ruth, I suppose, because they're worried there's more of it. So you are just completely, you're completely cynical about all of this, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. And I tell you another thing. I remember when John Bercow was a member of the Monday Club and he was going to be Minister of Repatriation. Well, what do you make of that now, then, John Bercow?
John Bercow has been on this most astonishing political journey from the Federation of Conservative Students, who were so extreme that Norman Tebbit actually banned them as an organisation, and you say Monday Club and all the rest of it. Now, he seems to have this dramatic journey to the left. Whether marrying Sally had something to do with that, I just don't know. But I don't really care about his politics, Ruth. What I care about is he is demeaning the role of Speaker of the House of Commons. That's my view.
He was too grand to wear the uniform. He is a nasty little man, actually.
Well, that's your opinion, Ruth. And Ruth, you have a lot of very strong opinions, which makes you a great caller into LBC. Thank you. Well, Ruth there, who thinks the whole thing's a nonsense. But again, it's another caller suggesting that faith and confidence in our political class is diminishing. Carl is calling from Chichester in Sussex. Good evening, Carl.
Oh, hi. Good evening there, Nigel.
So, are you another one of these people, Carl, who's lost faith in our leaders?
Well, I might not be able to articulate my thoughts clearly, but I'm going to try. I'm a Conservative member, a paid-up member, so I hope that's borne in mind here.
Yep.
When I watched the PMQs today, all I heard was, I think the Jeremy Corbyn thing is a total distraction. All I heard from Theresa May this afternoon was admittance of how deeply the Conservatives are entrenched in Russia and Russian money. A day before this attack happened, the government knew that there were spies posing as diplomats, and that was fine. A day before this attack happened, the government were allowing billions of Russian dodgy dark money into London property market, and that was fine. A day before...
It's a bit tough, Carl, for me to sit here and disagree with that. I think you're right in many ways.
No, but it's true, Nigel. And the thing is that it might be also happening because we also found out a few weeks ago that the Russians are bankrolling the Conservative Party. And I say this as a Conservative member. I'm deeply worried.
Well, £820,000 in donations to the Conservative Party since Mrs May became leader of the party have come from Russian sources. So it is, it's not, look, as a percentage of their total income, I don't know what that would be, 10%, 5%, that sort of figure.
Nigel, when £5,000 can buy you a dinner with the Prime Minister, I think nearly £1 million is quite a lot of influence bought.
Yeah.
Maybe that influence helps allow the oiling of the Russian property market in London. I think at the end of the day, what I heard from Theresa May was the lady does protest too much. And I think the Conservatives themselves have been caught here in a crossfire between the influence that they're receiving through Russia, the money that's coming through Russia, that's funding their party in some ways, and paying for influence, otherwise why would it be given? And now they're turning around, and Theresa May's doing what she typically does, completely overreacting.
Yeah, interesting.
Completely trying to pass the way onto, another blame to someone else, and that's why they attacked Jeremy Corbyn. I'm not a fan of Jeremy Corbyn, but I've got to say, Theresa May has banned all sorts, when you talked about Laura Southern, she has banned all sorts of people, crushed the saboteurs. You've got no further to look for a tyrant in this country than Theresa May. And she...
OK, and that's said by Carl in Chichester, who's a paid-up Conservative member. And my last call this evening on this subject is Ali, who's calling from Lewisham. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Nigel.
Hi, so did Corbyn get it right or wrong today?
He's 100% right.
Is he?
It's 100% right, because he acts like a father figure in the house. Because if really Theresa to give Russia the time to investigate, if you say someone steals something, you take him to court, and then when he's guilty, you punish him. But now we're punishing Russia without finding that they're guilty or not guilty.
So we're acting without due process, Ali, in your opinion?
Yes.
Okay,
we should agree with the Corbyn. to give more time to Russia, to UN or a chemical agency to investigate, to find out exactly what happened before we take action. But I think we're quick to take action within few days. I mean, since this happened, everyone has put the finger to Russia. Obviously, there is something that's going on, and I don't see the reason why Russia would do this thing by this time when he knows that his World Cup heading to his house, receiving millions of people around the world. What is Russia going to achieve from this?
Well, a lot of people Ali say that. Surely surely this is the last thing Putin would do. However, Ali, they have a track record of people who are traitors to their country meeting sticky ends. Ali in Lewisham, I thank you. I thank all of you. I think it's interesting, isn't it? The lack of faith in our leadership. But Theresa May trying to show the country how tough she can be. I very much hope she brings that mood and spirit to Brussels for the big summit next Thursday. I'll be there watching and you'll be listening. You've been listening to The Nigel Farage Show. I'm back tomorrow night in London from 7 o'clock. Tonight at 10 it's Ian Collins, but up next it's Beverly Turner.
Good evening. Thank you, Nigel. This is Bev Turner in for Clive Bull until 10, and at 9 it's the legal hour, so you can ring our expert, Daniel Barnett. We'll also have the latest on Westminster versus the Kremlin, and we're paying homage to Professor Stephen Hawking. But 2 years after Dame Casey's report urging councils to take action on community segregation, 5 councils are introducing an action plan. I'll tell you what they've got in mind to get us all playing nicely after the news, but I want to know what you think is causing religious and cultural ghettos in this country. And I also want us to be honest and consider whether it is even possible to engineer friendship.
On FM, online, on your mobile and on digital radio. Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 8 o'clock, the UN Security Council is meeting to discuss the Salisbury nerve agent attack. It's after the Prime Minister ordered sanctions, including the expulsion of 23 Russian diplomats. Ministers and the royal family won't attend this summer's World Cup, and it will be made easier for Russian assets to be seized. Moscow has called the measures a hostile action. Speaking a few minutes ago, the UK's representative to the UN, Jonathan Allen, says Russia's guilty of a disregard for the sanctity of life.
We have already heard the attacks and threats that Russia has made over the past few days. We know that there will be more to come. This is how Russia has acted in every other case where it has been caught flouting international law. Denial, distraction, and threats. It is what Russia does. But we will not let such threats deter us.
The United States has confirmed it believes Moscow to be behind the attack on Sergei and Yulia Skripal. Washington's representative, Nikki Haley, says Russia's actions must be addressed.
Alone, Russia's crime is worthy of this council's action. But this is not an isolated incident. The assassination attempt in Salisbury is part of an alarming increase in the use of chemical weapons.
Russia's due to speak to the council shortly. As the investigation into Sergei and Yulia Skripal's poisoning continues, police have cordoned off a street in Gillingham in Dorset. Professor Stephen Hawking's been remembered as one of the world's finest minds by the Queen, Prime Minister and figures from science, politics and entertainment. He died this morning at home in Cambridge at the age of 76, more than 5 decades after he was diagnosed with motor neurone disease. Ian Moss was a research student of Professor Hawking's in the 1980s. He's told LBC he got to know him personally.
He was a wonderful person. I mean, he was considerate, kind, had a bit of a temper, but when the temper was over, he really looked after his students, he looked after his colleagues, he made sure that their careers progressed after they left.
Victims of black cab rapist John Warboys must now wait to see if they've successfully challenged a decision to release him from prison. Judges say a final ruling will be handed down at a later date after a 2-day hearing which finished earlier. Jamie Carragher faces no further action after he was filmed spitting at football fans from his car. Police say a 42-year-old man will go on a driving awareness course after a video surfaced on Monday. The LBC markets report the FTSE 100's closed down 6 points at 71.32. The pound buys $1.39 and €1.12. LBC weather, a mild night for most, some rain pushing northeastwards, gales in the north and west, a low of 6 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Thomas Watts.
LBC travel, the Rotherhithe Tunnel has now reopened in both directions after a breakdown, but queues remain through Shadwell, not helped by the roadworks on the highway due to a burst water main. In the centre of town, the A4 is struggling eastbound approaching Piccadilly Circus. A lane has been closed for water main work. Lots of problems on the tube still. There are severe delays on the Central line from Leytonstone to Epping and to Woodford, and severe delays on the Victoria line. On the trains, the Heathrow Express and Heathrow Connect stop running at 8 o'clock for engineering works. LBC Travel, I'm Katie Tyler.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Beverly Turner.
Good evening, happy Wednesday. I hope you've had a great day. This is Bev Turner on LBC, which for these 2 hours stands for Listen to Bev Chat. But I can't do it without you, so pick up the phone and get involved. At 9, it's the legal hour with lawyer Daniel Barnett taking your calls. We'll have the latest on Russia, of course, and an interview with Lord Rees, a friend of the late Stephen Hawking. But first, 5 English councils are to adopt integration plans to encourage a harmonious melting pot of cultural diversity in our communities. Based on Dame Casey's 2016 review of community segregation problems, it was commissioned by David Cameron, don't forget. It's been given £50 million of government money to basically make everyone play nicely. Now, nobody can deny that integration is surely a positive thing and would lead to greater understanding, less conflict and more tolerance. But we need to understand what's causing segregation in the first place. So that's question 1. 0345 6060 973 is the number to ring. What is stopping us from integrating? Something clearly is. We have a problem in this country with communities being divided based on religion, culture, nationality, colour, creed. And the second question I want to ask is it not impossible to engineer friendships if people simply do not want to mix? Now, I am not going all Katie Hopkins on you here. Don't for a second think that's what this is about, because I think, as I've just said, we would all agree that social cohesion, which actually relies on social mobility, let's remember, is a positive thing. So, what are these councils going to do? 0345 6060 973. I'll tell you what the councils are. They are Bradford, Blackburn, Peterborough, Walsall and Waltham Forest in London. Those are the ones that have been selected for help. This plan will include schemes to encourage pupils to form lasting friendships with those from different backgrounds. I'm going to come on to schooling in a moment.